Hi, everybody. Deepa and I are here. We're excited to get started. We were just going to give another minute. Got a great group here tonight. Okay, well, we have a lot of exciting things to cover tonight, so we wanted to get started on time so we can make sure we end on time because I know it's the end of the day for all of us. But today's webinar is all about how to launch your successful lifestyle medicine practice. And we're excited to bring this to you. We really want to thank Pronex, which is a awesome software company that has great tools for practitioners. We want to thank them for sponsoring this webinar tonight and bringing us together. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about them later on. But tonight, what we really want to cover is how to design a practice model system that works for you, how to establish systems in your practice for success, some marketing strategies, because everyone's always looking for how to grow their reach and how to grow their practice, and how to create a sustainable financial foundation, which is so important from the very beginning. And then finally, how to leverage technology for patient tracking and practice efficiency, because that's what helps keep everything moving smoothly and moving forward. And we are going to have at the end of this a QR code, and it's also going to come out in the follow-up email, a link to a recording, and also a essential lifestyle medicine practice launch checklist, something that you will want to have as you launch your practice. And whether you're just launching or you have an established practice and you want some additional tips on how to make it run very smoothly or grow, we are going to cover all of that tonight. So I'm honored to be here actually with Deepa as well. I'm going to let her introduce herself because in case you haven't met either one of us, we'll tell you just a little bit about our background and then dive right on in.
Thank you, Carol, and welcome everyone. My name is Deepa Deshmukh. I'm a registered dietitian, board certified in advanced diabetes management and diabetes care education specialist. Uh, at the end of the day, I am a public health uh, and policy focused dietitian and have been practicing lifestyle medicine or nutrition as medicine for last 18 years. Uh, Specifically focusing on culturally diverse populations and trying to move the needle on population health. And my contribution to today's seminar is basically my insights into running a successful lifestyle medicine practice and everything that I have learned and I should have learned earlier than later. So I hope you will find the content valuable, and I'm very honored to be joined with Carol, who has a strong foundation and experience in this. So Carol, take over.
Sure. I'll just tell you a little bit about me. My name's Carol Clark, and I'm, like I say, happy to be here with Deepa and excited about Pronex sponsoring this. But I live in Virginia, and I have established and run successful medical and surgical weight loss practices for the past, I hate to sound too old, but well over 20 years. My husband's actually a bariatric surgeon and also board certified in obesity medicine. And we had a very busy practice here. We had a lot of people come and want to duplicate it. And so about close to 10 years ago or so, I started a consulting business called Weight Loss Practice Builders. And so now I have the pleasure of working with practitioners all across the US, helping them establish and grow their medical and surgical weight loss practices. I love this. I love the dedication of the practitioners, just like, Deepa. And we have a great team here that runs our office so that I can do that. And it's all about what we're going to talk about tonight, how to set up systems so that you can have a very well running practice. So that's a little bit about my background. And with that, we're going to dive right on in.
Oh, okay, perfect. Before we start, I just want to clarify something that if you have a question, do not put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A section or the tag that you will see here. So make sure you write your question in Q&A and not in the chat, because it seems the chat function is not open for participants. But question and answer section is. So here we go. The reason that I decided to share my insights with a group like Pronex and Carol here is because I felt that when I started, I really didn't know what I was doing. And all I knew was nutrition, the way it is practiced needs to be changed, and there is more to nutrition than what was being used or the way it was practiced 18, 20 years ago. Over a period of time, I realized that that is what lifestyle medicine was all about, and that is what I was delivering. And like I said, I went with the model, you build and they will come. But that but that is not is a right thing to do always. So if you are here just like me and understood the potential benefits of establishing a lifestyle medicine practice, and yet you may not know how to get started, or have a decision fatigue, that where you have gone in rounds as to, oh, maybe I should choose the name first, oh no, maybe I should find the office first, and you just don't know where to start. Or you may have tried it before and have not been able to scale it or make it as profitable as you want, or you just simply don't know where to start. Whatever your question may be, you are in a right spot, because these are the exact insights and experiences we are bringing to the table, so that we can figure out how to get you guys going, how to take your fire in your belly and turn it into something phenomenal.
Right. And we hear this all the time from practitioners. So if you're feeling any of those, like Deepa said, you are not alone. We felt it ourselves, and it's very normal. And what we wanted to start with is just really the importance of, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we get so many ideas in our heads. We're ready to go out there. We want to help everyone. And we don't take the time to really reverse engineer our practice, the practice that we're creating, so that we can have profitability even before we begin. Because even though we're in this to help people, we want to help everyone live their healthiest life. If we're not profitable at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to sustain our practice, and we're not going to be able to continue that. So our dear friend Fred always says, think big, start small, move fast. But really, we do want to have a vision. You want to have a vision. Start just with one aspect, and that will help decrease the overwhelm, but yet move fast so that you can actually get out there in a big way. But we're going to get into this a little bit more further into the presentation. But I do think it's really important for people at the very beginning to think about, how much money do you really need to make? Do you want to make or need to make? And even though we're all starting with our hearts and service as our main mindset, we do need to think about this. So as you develop your practice, you really want to think about, what services are you going to be offering? How is that going to be priced? Are you going to be doing it? We're going to get into this a bit more, insurance versus cash pay. And what would be your average revenue per patient? It's easy to reverse engineer this if you just put this thought into it. What's your time frame or number of visits that patient usually is seeing you for? What would you expect to see? And we can gauge this as you go along. And then what is your annual revenue goal that you need to cover your salaries, expenses, costs of goods sold, all of that? That gets into a bit of the accounting. But once we know the fact that how much revenue you'll get per patient, what you need to make to cover your expenses, then you can actually take that and divide your annual revenue goal by that revenue per patient. And that tells you a goal for how many patients that you need to see annually, monthly, weekly. So for example, if you had a goal of that you needed to make 200,000, I'm just going to give that as a goal. Everyone has different goals. I work with people from, multi-millions all the way down to, everyone's practice is a little bit different. So say a couple $100,000, we do need to think about the fact of, how much would a patient be paying for their initial consult? How long would they be with you? What would that range be? Let's say, and I'm just throwing this number out there, let's say it was $800 is what you're going to get per patient annually, or for the time that they're with you. Then for 200,000, we just reverse engineer that. So you take that average goal and you divide that by your 800. It means you have to see 250 new patients a year, or 21 new patients per month, or 5 new patients a week. But doing this a little bit ahead of time, and this is we're probably jumping into this a little early, but I wanted to plant that seed as we move forward into the things that help make your practice sustainable, just so that you can have that as a thought in your mind. And like I say, we're going to get into that a little bit more. And Deepa has real life experience with lifestyle medicine, of course, and so she'll be able to share some specific scenarios as well. But we want to just plant that seed because in order to be sustainable, we do have to have that in mind. And so now Deep is going to get into a little bit about your practice model and some considerations for that.
So, in order to make your financial model work, once you come up with the number that, as Carol was mentioning, let's say you want to make $200,000 a year, then you need to take a step back after your all the reverse engineering about the finances is done, is to understand or to figure out how are you going to get there. Are you going to be an independent practitioner? Are you a part of a group or a health system? Do you have all other your colleagues sharing your same vision? Because one more thing I have realized in last few years working with other practitioners is that they feel that they are the only one in the group who has the lifestyle medicine focused and nobody else is. Those kind of nuances will determine your financial model. So start unweeding those. Choosing your model, is it going to be in person, virtual, or hybrid? Because that's going to affect your operations cost. Structuring patient care and follow-ups, how many visits, how long the first assessment is going to be, and most importantly, integrating the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And we would be talking about the workflows and processes around that. But these are the few basic things you must start considering as you are designing your practice model. Now, one thing I want to kind of mention to you here actually goes back to the to what we have learned from Fred here, which is think big, start small, and move fast. Many times we get paralyzed by overanalysis. Okay. And in the beginning, there's not going to be a perfect model. You are not going to make whatever your financial goal is, $10,000 a year, starting from first month, but don't get stuck there. If you move very slowly, trust me guys, you will have that fatigue, and you will lose interest, and you are going to feel, oh, nothing works. So keep this in mind, that think big, start small, and move fast.
Exactly. And I like to, at the beginning here, to talk a little bit about what I call the circle of life for a thriving practice. Any practice that's going to be established and grow as quickly as they want to, or be sustainable over a long period of time, has to have this circle of life, so to speak. So we are charged with attracting the type of patients that we want to work with. So that's your marketing. That's how you attract people in. And it doesn't have to be super expensive at all, but we want to attract the type of people that we want to be working with the most. That's your marketing. And then we build a relationship with them. And this is where you nurture them, you engage them, and they get to know you a little bit better in everything that you offer. And then once they know a little bit more about you, you've got brand awareness, they see what it is that you offer, they identify with it because you're touching their pain points in terms of what their goals are. You can convert them in a sales process, and it doesn't have to feel salesy. You can convert them into a paying patient then. And that's our whole sales process, but it's really letting them clearly know what's the next step so that they need to take in order to select you as their practitioner and to continue their care with you. Once you've converted them to a paying patient, this is what most of us, everyone like really flourishes at, is helping them to become a raving fan of what it is that you offer. So how do you do that? You provide wow service, and you help them attain the goal that they desire most. That's all they want. People will pay for expertise. They'll pay for someone who can help them get to the goal that they want. So once that happens and they become a fan and they see the value that you bring and they see it in their own life as their lives are changing, then they have more of an increased tendency to leave you great reviews, to do testimonials, to refer others to your practice. And this whole circle of life just continues to keep the life of your practice moving. So that's sort of that big 30,000, foot view of what has to be happening in your practice in order to be sustainable and to also help get it off the ground in a much quicker and more effective way. There are a number of systems that we talk about. And when I say systems, it doesn't mean that it's something that doesn't have your personality or it's something boring that's there. It's so that you have a predictable way of managing your care and a predictable way for your patients to be seen and for every aspect of your practice. And in order to have these systems in place, for things to run smoothly and to allow you to not feel like you are putting out fires each and every day. If you're someone who's in a practice and you feel like every day you come in with this great plan, but it all gets thrown out the window because you're putting out fires all the time, it's because there's some certain essential systems that aren't in place. Most of them will revolve around your team and having a team that is supportive and understands their role and how they support your practice. And that's both internal and external. We'll get into the details of each one of these. Your care delivery system, this is how you are caring for your patients, your documentations, tracking their outcomes, how you're doing your billing and collections, all that aspect. Your marketing is another system that becomes sort of a well-oiled machine. Organic marketing is marketing that you're doing where people are finding you organically through searches. And it's a very inexpensive but lengthier way to be found, but it can take on legs of its own. It can be very powerful. Or paid marketing, if that's the way that you're doing it. There's lots of different ways to do it, but your marketing is another system that has to be in place. Your finances from the very beginning, making sure we've reversed engineer it. We know what your average budget is, what to expect, and we are working towards making sure that whatever it is that you're offering leaves you with profitability at the end of the day, so that you're not the one who goes home without a paycheck every day, or you're not the one who's always kind of catching things up. Your revenue model for leveraged growth and profitability, we talked a little bit about, and then tracking and reporting. This is where if anything's not working right, we can always track it back to our numbers. So your metrics in terms of how many new patients you're getting and how many are becoming patients in your practice. You're tracking lots of different things, your financial metrics, KPIs for your team members. So these are the things that once and you don't tackle all of them at the same time, but once these are all in place, it helps truly support that circle of life that I just mentioned, though. So going into it, thinking about these 6 different systems is really very helpful and will set you up for success.
Oh,
Um,
go ahead, Kara.
oh, you can do the team.
All right. So in order to establish the essential systems, the 6 factors, 7 factors that Carol went over are extremely important. Now we will start plugging in the actual different roles or actual people who would be part of your team. Internal team can be your office manager or your virtual assistant. In the beginning, you may or may not need the office manager. What I have found out that in the beginning, it's important that you are aware of what every role is doing, or their job description, so to speak, and you should be not proficient, but you should be able to fill in if needed into all those different roles, at least in the beginning, because it's a good training exercise for you as a solo practitioner or a business owner or a founder or what have you. So having the internal team is important. External team is more technical, like attorneys and accountants who are going to guide you through the setting up of the practice and the legalities of what kind of business you have, and that gets into the profit versus non-profit status, LLC, incorporation, corporation, or there's a B Corp, and all kinds of things are involved. So again, you knowing that what kind of population you're going to um, work with, or knowing your marketing strategy is going to help you uh, uh, kind of find the right kind of attorney and talking to them about your short-term and long-term vision. So like I mentioned, role delineation is important. Accountability, communication is crucial, because you are kind of flying on your own. Okay, you are not working for anybody. So accountability for yourself, meeting the deadlines for small simple goals are going to be important. And the support and training, as far as the how, like I said, the job description for your team, as well as the support and training that is required to build your team, is crucial. Okay, now this is where I'm going to share my extremely from the heart kind of content here, because I cannot tell you how important it is to have efficient workflows in the area of lifestyle medicine, or as a lifestyle medicine practitioner. And the reason being, uh, as delivery of lifestyle medicine protocol is not a pill for every ill type of protocol. There is lot of hand holding, there is lot of education, there's lot of time goes into being there for your patient. Believe me, they become like your friend or family or your pets. There's a really human attachment to this type of delivery system. And unless you have efficient workflows, it's you will be spending lot of time kind of figuring it out. Oh, who needs a chat, who needs a SMS message, who needs internal message, who needs email, what kind of handout I'm supposed to send. Because like I said, documentation takes time, patient education takes time, because there are so many things we need to teach them. We need to teach them from the behavior change point of view. We need to tackle the issue of delivering culinary medicine curriculum. We need to talk about their families, and so many things need to be addressed when you are delivering the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And we need to keep these patients engaged, because you may think your best patient is doing so well and something happens. It doesn't take these human beings, just like all of us here, to fall off the wagon. And you need to have efficient workflows and systems in place to bring that patient back on the wagon at his own speed. Okay, so therefore, a proper technology integration to be able to do it at a scale is very important.
All right. And the next one we were talking about, this is one that most practitioners just do not like. It's one of the things that, as Deepa mentioned, you build it and you just figure people will come. But marketing is not, it is something that has to be addressed. And it's one of those things that if you really are uh, somebody who understands your target market, who it is that you want to work with. And anytime a practitioner just says, everybody, I want to work with everybody, that makes it very difficult to target your marketing. So from the very beginning, we want to, respect your vision, make sure that you have that vision for your practice. Who is it that you want as your target market? Some people will want to focus on people with medical issues. Some people may want to focus on adolescents. Some practitioners focus on menopause, some on athletes, some on chronic disease. There's so many different aspects of it, but who's your target market? And then really identifying what makes you different from your competitors. And sometimes from marketing perspective, people think, oh, now that we have AI can create all my marketing materials. We can do all that, but they have to hear your voice and what's making you different from your competitors. Is it your overall experience? Is it a certain type, a niche that you're in that many other people don't serve? Is it from a cost perspective? Is it that you're cash pay, or maybe because you offer insurance and everyone else in your area is only cash pay? There's lots of different things that will differentiate you from competitors, but your personality is a big part of that. How you internally promote, and that's your flyers in the office or where, however you're promoting that through your internal mechanisms, even anywhere in your practice, or your outreach to people externally. Your website is a gateway to your practice, how you're communicating, what you're doing on social media, all that plays into your marketing. And as well as that is referrals. Are those coming from local businesses, practitioners, your own patients? Those are our favorite kind. And a lot of practices sustain themselves on patient referrals because they do such a great job. You can do paid versus organic marketing strategies, and you can fit just about any budget by doing those different methods. And what I mean by that is perhaps creating some content. For example, we'll create a video. We turn that also into a blog. We also turn it into social media posts. We drive traffic back to our website. There's so many different ways that you can do that in a very cost-effective way. And then, of course, analyzing your Google Analytics and where your leads are coming from is all very important from a marketing perspective. So we don't want to just push that off till the end and figure, well, I'll just hire somebody to do that. I mean, you can hire somebody, but sometimes if you're a practitioner who's been out there for very long at all, a lot of times we're not even sure what we paid for because it didn't cause us to increase our patient load. And so a lot of times you do have to have a mindset for that to a certain degree, so that you're keeping an eye on it and making sure that you do have a flow of leads coming in. We're going to get into it too. It's also when you have leads coming in or new potential patients, how do you track those? How do you keep track of that? And how do you then convert them? So that's a big part of marketing. That's the other system that ends up being put into place.
So just like your finances, I mean, this is the part two of it, and Carol went over quite a bit of it. Your budget, your billing and collections, account payables, checks and balances are extremely important to track, because those are going to help you kind of move around your financial model. It's important to understand that your financial model is not static, it's dynamic, because you are going to have some good months, some bad months, and a pattern will establish over a period of time. Therefore, the first 1 to 2 years is a little bit about experimenting. However, you need to have your eye on your budget and your billing and collections, which accounts you are just not going to go after if they don't pay. Pros and cons of doing all those things are extremely important. So, if you have an insurance model, then you should know what the fee schedule is, uh, and how your revenue calculation fits into that revenue calculator, uh, and the math that Carol did in the beginning. That how do you get to your $200,000 a year uh, revenue target? What's the volume of patients you need, and where you are going to get these people from? And all these pieces, like she was talking about, finding your niche. Don't be everything to everybody. That doesn't work. And within, let's say, weight loss is your target market, but within weight loss there could be a sub specialty, and the more narrow you go, the better your chances are, at least in the beginning. Later on, as you start getting your experience together and you have exposure to different caseloads, then it can widen. But in the beginning, at least try to focus on something that is niche, and start building your business, because that is what is going to need to scale your growth over a period of time. Scaling is very important. And Carol, do you have anything to say about scaling? Because I know that you have helped a lot of practices scale.
Right. I think for scaling, if here's just a tidbit, if your practice right now is not flowing really smoothly, but yet you're getting a lot of patients in perhaps as if you try to scale at that point, you don't have systems in place, your small daily putting out fires will become really big fires to put out. So I guess what I'm saying here is if you establish those systems, once those are in place, adding volume into your practice becomes very easy to do because there's the same expectation for your team for caring for everyone. You have this systematized communication method. You have a way that everyone kind of goes through the system. And once you have that in place, once you have your key systems in place, scaling becomes a very easy thing to do. And then it becomes more of a marketing sort of equation in terms of where are you getting your referrals from, your quality referrals from, how can you get more of those, where aren't you getting them from, and how can you gain access to those. So scaling for growth really starts with having the basics in place and then throwing fuel on that to keep it to let it really grow. And that would be my advice. There is one question in the chat, Deepa, that the Q&A poll that does relate to this. There's a question there saying, what length of time is reasonable to be in the red when starting to practice from scratch as a solo practitioner? Which is a great question. um,
Yeah.
and for me, part of it's a tolerance thing. I'll have practitioners reach out and they've been in the red for a really long time and they're so frustrated they don't really know what else to do, but they have tolerated that period of time. The short answer is as short of a period of time as possible. And before you're starting out, make sure that you have some resources set aside for growing your practice. But if you start out small and you don't get into a whole bunch of overhead at the very beginning and a lot of high salaries, you can actually become profitable within a few months. It's when you start and you add a lot of expense when you don't have the revenues to support it that you end up in this sort of a cycle of being in the red, and then who suffers from that? Of course, it's the owner who doesn't take a salary. So you're working all these hours, and this happens all the time. And like I know we built a whole new facility, so our overhead was going to significantly increase, but we planned for it. So we knew there wouldn't be a salary for a period of time. We saved and we planned for that, and then it just came in. It was just those few months, and then we ended up, becoming profitable. And but we planned for it. So it's one of those things that if you set the goals and you work really hard towards those goals, and you're not tolerant of remaining in that cycle, that's when you'll start to see the profitability come through. Deepa, do you have any other?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, Carol. What you said is important that you plan for it. But at the same time, I also feel that uh, not to linger in that space for too long. You will have a gut feeling about, oh, I tried this and this didn't work out. Uh, so I'm going to try different marketing strategy. So have a flexible mindset so you can experiment, you can tweak, you can move fast. That start small and move fast is a very important aspect here to keep in mind, because the longer you linger in the red, the harder it will be for you, because you are just going to focus on, oh my god, I'm losing money, I'm losing money, I'm bleeding money. And that will take some creativity out of your practice, because it's very important to be creative. That okay, I didn't reach my revenue goal day 1, day 15, 1 month. Maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to do that. So having that kind of agility is important to get out of the red as fast as you can. And number 2, invest where you need to invest. Not every dollar you spend is considered as an expense, but you will have to invest. I mean, if you want to have a in-person practice, you have to invest in a room, in an office. If you want to get mm, athletes who speak Spanish, then you need to invest in the marketing strategy to get them. So identify what are the critical areas to invest the money in. That is your investment in your business. And
Hmm.
look at that not as an expense but as an investment, and obviously the return on investment will be high if you spend it on a right on the right tools.
Right. And not every bright, shiny object that comes along.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Next was
Oh,
tracking and reporting, Deepa.
yes. So tracking and reporting is another area where I could have used some help when I started, because I was literally tracking my patients on a piece of paper and, couldn't find a software for the longest period of time. The journey, what I call from the lead to a patient, is a very important one and is very tricky one, because every lead is a revenue, every lead has a potential to turn into a patient, and every lead needs nurturing and follow through. Okay. Until they say, oh, just stop calling me or whatever your marketing, and until they block you. I mean, it shouldn't get to that, but there are a lot of things which need to happen as far as lead tracking is concerned. So having a system in place to do so, having system in place to track your budget and profitability. You may think that, oh, each patient is going to stay with you for 10 visits, but some may stay for 15, some may stay for 2. So there is an average, and that kind of profitability budget you will have to keep track of. Return on investment for marketing, like I was just mentioning, you should know who your target market is, where you are going to invest your money. Patient outcomes, I mean, patient outcomes, yes, they are important, but without proper system, patient outcomes are not possible to track. And that's a mistake I have made. I have seen now, just you guys can imagine, in 18 years, the number of patients I have seen are are in thousands. However, it wasn't 5 to 7 years into the practice I started getting testimonials. It didn't even occur to me to to get them and to start collecting them, right? So, and I had phenomenal patient outcomes, but I didn't have proper tool to document those. So just imagine if I had a number to show that out of 10,000 patients that I saw that year, 5,000 people improved their A1Cs or lost so much weight and blah blah blah. Well, that's what I'm learning, and that's what I'm here to share with you, is that these tracking and reporting functionalities are extremely important. Patient testimonials, all these things are required to leverage your growth and make it profitable and scalable.
Right. We're getting a little short on time, so I'm just going to really just quickly. I think the crux of your revenue model, once you establish what it is that you're offering, you have a main offer. We want to make sure that is working really well and bringing in profitability, and then considering additional revenue streams if you want to. Who's going to offer those? How are you going to offer them? Those sort of things. A lot of times, people start adding all these revenue streams in as if they're throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping one of them will stick. But really, that just distracts you from your major purpose and your ability to get those results. So we want to make sure that's running well. And then we can add other things, talk about package pricing, upsells, downsells. That's really more of a longer term thing. But initially, getting your main offer working really well is critical.
Okay, so uh, once you have your basic systems in place, leveraging technology for patient tracking and practice efficiency becomes very important and essential, right? When you are when you are choosing a technology solution, a software solution, what matters is that you have everything that is required to to for the journey of turning the lead into a patient and onwards. right? The lead tracking and conversion metrics matters because that goes right into your profitability, into your financial model. In order to achieve that, you need a all-in-one turnkey system that addresses the delivery of six pillars of lifestyle medicine, but also the patient education, uh, EMR, electronic medical record system, the compliance issues, the secure communication, two-way communication to your patient and from your patient, outcome tracking and billing and collections and so many things under one roof. The simplified the system is, the better it is. In order from training yourself to do so is important. But what is also important is having a system which is not completely baked for you, okay, where there is no flexibility to make it personalized or customized for your practice, okay, because even among lifestyle medicine focused practitioners, we all have our specialties. There are physical therapists, there are doctors, there are surgeons, there is a ER doctor that I'm working with, family practice, gastric bypass surgeons, dietitians, health coaches, so on and so forth. So we need a platform which is going to give us the option to customize part of the solution, the software rather. So having a solution that takes into all these things is going to improve the practice efficiency.
Right.
All right.
And
Yeah, go
I was,
ahead,
I was
Claire.
just say to your point, I know we in our practice we do medical and surgical weight loss, and I'm a Excel spreadsheet queen, love it. We tracked all of our patients through that, but then we had that was how we tracked people. Then we had one for our EMR, which had billing collections, and another thing that had all of our patient education in it. And it wasn't until I found actually Pronex, who's sponsoring this, that everything all of a sudden was simplified. And I didn't realize my team, they did whatever, they built a system around it. They built a system around using all these different tools. But the once we had it all in one, and it's even interoperable because we had an EMR and our billing collection system it was interoperable, but having the rest of it all in one place was like fresh air in their lungs. It was like, oh my gosh. And then it also simplified from a cost perspective because you're not paying for lots of different platforms. And you can really go down some rabbit holes with, I need this one and I need this one, I need this one. Then you're managing all these databases and it gets crazy. And if you just really, at the end of the day, if you just simplify things for yourself and for your team, it's so much easier. I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, that was a big deal for me and my team.
Oh, it is a huge deal for me to collaborate with Pronex on customizing this tool core platform for my practice. I mean, the it's not only all-in-one or all-in-one turnkey system, which is taking into account three other systems that I use. But for me, it is going to allow me to respond to the patient, to stay engaged with the patients more closely than I have ever been even dreamt of. So that is going to be an extremely important feature for me, and that flexibility of customizing the workflows to improve the practice efficiency, the communication, easy communication or different ways of communicating with the patients so that that we stay engaged with them not only for good short-term outcomes but for long-term outcomes is also another important thing I'll be able to achieve through the use of core. So yeah, I mean, what can I say? I mean, this is the first time I was able to find a platform which allowed me to customize a lot of things that I wanted.
Yep, right. And one other quick example, like on our website, we have a chat button. The chat goes right into the software system. and then all the team can see all the communication back and forth, whether it's text, phone, or whether it's an email back and forth. So you're not going back and forth saying, "Did you email that person back? Did you text them? Are they?" So it's all like right there, and the patient can then communicate with you. It's just really been a game changer, at least for our practice for medical and surgical weight loss. But anyhow, uh, we covered a lot today, and there's a number of really great questions in the Q&A I want to get to. We talked about understanding your market, your opportunity, your niche, your target market, designing your practice model, those main systems that are necessary for ultimate success and to grow your practice, marketing strategies, how to establish that sustainable financial foundation by looking at what you need from the very beginning, reverse engineering. And then finally, we got into a bit about leveraging technology for patient tracking and practice efficiency. So we're going to just check these questions here real quick, Deepa.
Sure.
And let me get down there.
So the first question we answered about, the length of time to be in red when starting a practice. Then there's a question about how do you get with insurance? How would you go about to have insurance reimburse you? So in order to start accepting insurance, you need to have a contract with different insurance companies, and you can do so by contacting each insurance company and asking them to become a in-network provider. So there is a contracting and there is a credentialing process that you have to do. And credentialing is done from an organization called CAQH. It's a stack of paperwork in itself, but once you are done, once you do it, you are done for the life as long as you maintain it. So yeah, so to start taking insurance, you need to have to go through the credentialing agency and contacting each insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which systems, bare minimum, would you need to have in place to begin with? Very interesting one. Um, Anything patient related. I mean, the journey from becoming lead to the patient starts by your patient going on your website. So you should have a system in place to have a website, to a chat bot which is going to connect the patient to your office or to you. And then once you communicate with the patient, then do you have a system? Do you have a place uh, uh, to see the patient, to chart the patient, to follow through with him, to deliver your handouts, to engage with him, to nourish him, to nurture him for long-term engagement, all those things. So these are the main systems.
Mm-hmm. I
What do you say,
agree. Your
Carol?
website, a way to lead to capture your leads, and then a way to track everything with it all in one place if you can. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I mean, at least if you have all that, you can actually accomplish all that within Pronex at a very affordable price. So anyhow, I like that. I like having things sort of simplified and in one place. But definitely those would be a couple of important things to have in place.
I mean, one way to think of it would be if whatever you are going to do with the patient on a piece of paper and a pen, you should have it done in an electronic format, so to speak, or in a software format, because you don't want to have charts after charts and cabinets after cabinets of those traditional charts. The
Mm-hmm.
more streamlined you do, you set up your operations in the beginning, the better use of your time and resources is going to be down the line. Otherwise, later on, you will have to scan everything in. Okay, so having the e-fax coming directly into your EMR, etc. So you need a system which captures all of that, and the core does that for us. Okay. What is a good way to find how much people pay for a service? uh, that's the math that Carol walked you through. That hey, if you want to make $200,000 per year, how are you going to divide that number by how many patients and what your expenses look like? So if you do that reverse math, you should be able to figure out how much people pay for the service, and then you will have to try and see, if people are finding value in that cost, you should be able to justify, in terms of the value that the patient is going to get out of that intervention.
Hmm. And a lot of times for pricing, you may want to start with taking a look around your area. What are people paying for something similar, just so that you can gauge what's happening. But then I wouldn't just figure, oh, if I go under that, that's going to be the greatest thing. Because oftentimes what works better is to actually have a higher value system that's worth more and that people may pay for. And you'll find sort of where people are comfortable in terms of payments and how much they're willing to pay. People will pay for experience. They will pay for exclusivity, something they can get from you that they can't get from somewhere else. And they'll pay for a guaranteed outcome. Now, none of us can promise guaranteed outcomes, but having social proof out there of your outcomes does really help with that aspect of it. But when it comes to determining your charges, it does play into your budget, but it also plays into what your local market will bear, so to speak. And so those are some considerations that you could take into place.
And one more thing about value or how much people will pay is also that you can have a model where you have your initial assessment or a consult as one service, but then there are value added services which sit on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
such as a meal plan or exercise class or stress management class on top of your basic assessment or the initial visit or follow-up visit. So think about different ways that you can offer value to people and for which they will pay.
That's great. Yeah. There's another one. Is there an option to have mentoring coaching to start practice? Um, I'll tell you, one of the things, Deepa and I both provide this. There's different options with Pronex. It's probably when we're just talking about differentiating factors for different companies. One of the differentiating factors for Pronex is the fact that we have a comprehensive team, and Deep and I help with that. And so it's a matter of having a software system that works. That's also a bit customizable, as Deepa had talked about, and serves all those needs. But also, you're not just out there on your own. We provide, with different packages, some coaching to go along with that. And oftentimes it's helpful too. We're playing around with lots of different things, whether it's some group meetings with some of the practitioners, because we all learn from each other. But there's lots of different ways. But there is some guidance, of course, that's included for the Pronex software solution. Hope that answered your question. Deepa, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you are right. I mean, if mentoring and coaching is what you need to get started, or if you have already started and now you want to accelerate your practice, there are some more strategies to do that. So coaching and mentoring is always a good idea, and I personally feel that I wish I had it back then, because I really, really did not know what I was doing, and it all worked out. That's a different issue, but it takes a lot. As much as I have enjoyed my time with my patients, I have had a couple of moments here and there about, oh my God, this practice work just doesn't end. It's a monkey on my back kind of a thing, and I feel that if I had proper tools and systems at my fingertips, that would have been even more enjoyable experience. But hey, here I am. I learned a lot and I get to share with all of you.
I think
So,
it's like that for everyone. I know it was like Tom, my husband would come up with all these great ideas, and I'm sort of like I'm a nurse, so I'm a clinician. I always think of the patient first, but then I've got this system brain and mindset. So I'd set up these systems, but a lot of it ended up being trial and error. And sometimes you look back and you think, boy, did I spend money on some really silly like not very helpful marketing methods, not very helpful software solutions, not very helpful, even, early on potential team members that weren't a really good fit for what you were offering. So we all learn sort of the hard way. And so I do think mentoring and some of that won't avoid all those, but it certainly does make the journey a bit smoother to avoid some of those pitfalls and obstacles for sure.
okay. So
Yeah. I don't see any
that,
more questions. I don't think. Let's see. Oh, wait. As a physician, do I need malpractice insurance if you will be more of a coach, not getting labs, etc.?
yes, everybody needs malpractice insurance. And there are
Agree.
companies who offer malpractice insurances for health coaching, so that coverage is slightly different than the one you need as a physician, or dietitians have their own malpractice insurance. But the answer is yes.
Right. And oftentimes, if you're a physician who has been practicing in the field and then you're modifying what your offers are, I've also seen if you go to your current malpractice provider and let them know how your hours or your role or the services that you're providing are changing, oftentimes they will just make modifications in your current policy and you can remain and still have, you know, tail and depending on how it's set up. There's so many different ways, but that's also an option that um, physicians do all the time when they start to, as they're getting ready for retirement, and they may slow down and go from surgical to just medical or that sort of thing. So that's another
Yeah.
option for you as well to consider.
Yeah, there is another question. So, do we need malpractice insurance and also professional liability insurance? Well, you need a general liability insurance for your business,
Hmm.
and then you need a malpractice insurance for patient care,
Correct. Agree.
right? Yes, it's all fun. It's all fun. Uh, and the most important thing is you want to make sure that you are not, what I call is um, paralysis by overanalysis.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You look at the worst come scenario and say, hey, you know what? I have enough qualifications. I can always go back and find a job.
Right.
Or
Right.
you start tipping your toe in the waters here. There's lots and lots of resources available. I know that each one of you can have a very successful lifestyle medicine focused practice. Just look at the statistics on chronic disease. And,
Right. We didn't even
and
get into that. There are so many patients to serve. There's plenty to go around for everyone. And I guess as a few parting thoughts, really, as you're designing your practice, design one that serves your patients well and is really enjoyable for you and your team. That's the joy of being an entrepreneur. You can design exactly what it is that you want in the way that you want to. So a lot of times people think they have to do it just the way that they know or the way other people are doing it. It's not the case at all. You can create one where it's just certain days a week. You can do, in person and or do a hybrid, or you can design it how you want. I'm not sure if you're prepared to do this, and obviously we were trying to help people taking those next steps. If you're interested in any sort of a turnkey solution with some expert guidance, we would love to talk further about that with you. It's just I always say every time I'm looking into something and doing and evaluating, I'm like, it's just a conversation. It's a matter of me advancing my knowledge about things. We did create a QR code here where you can download your lifestyle medicine practice launch checklist right from your screen today. And we'll also be sending that out in the follow-up email. And we put Deepa in my emails on there if you have a specific question you wanted talk about that further, reach out to us. And if you would like to take a look at the Pronex software, it would be well worth your investment of just your time. Like I say, it's a conversation, but it really can take things and move it along much faster and make things much more streamlined for you and your patient. We can arrange for that as well. Deepa, do you have anything else? I'm so excited for everyone who's here tonight. We really appreciate your time.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. And we are here to help. So please reach out, and I will see you all soon. And good luck with everything.
All right. Well, very good. I don't see any more questions. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Ms. Hernandez. Okay. All right. Everybody have a great night.